Actually, street board. It's like
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the Monday, February 12th, 2024 council meeting to order. We're going to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance and then observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Sabosley, if you would do roll call.
Councilman Dern.
Here.
Councilman Jernick.
here.
Councilman Purcell.
Here.
Councilwoman Rossler.
Here.
Councilman Schlapp.
Here.
Councilman Seitz.
Here.
Councilman Taylor.
Here.
Mayor Schlegel.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of January 2024.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion on the floor by Mr. Taylor. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Majernik. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the expenses for the month of January 2024.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Seitz. Do I have a second? I have a second by Ms. Rossler. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the January 8th, 2024 council meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Taylor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Purcell. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Recognition of achievements in the community.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mustangs, come on up here. You sure you're all from the same team, right? All right. I'm going to read this proclamation, and I'm going to try and pronounce your names correctly, so if you turn around so they see you on the camera, on the TV. And when I call your name, just step forward, wave high. And there's something in this proclamation that these kids did in honor of their teammate who lost his life in the tragedy at Rustic Ridge. This is a proclamation honoring the 2023 Plum Little Mustangs 12U football team. Whereas Plum Council and I are proud to recognize the achievements of citizens of our community. And whereas the 2023 football season started with the tragic loss of their teammate, friend, and brother, Keegan Kluntz, and his father, Casey, and several other community members who were missed by so many. Whereas the 2023 Little Mustang football team spent countless hours practicing in preparation for the football season. And whereas the team dedicated the season to number 40, Keegan Kluntz, and during the team's first game versus West Mifflin, the Mustangs had a 37-6 lead in the first quarter. And Otto Schellenhammer kicked a field goal to win the game 40-6, 40 points for number 40. And whereas the Mustangs went on to a perfect 10-0 regular season, earning the number 1 seed in the playoffs. And whereas in the first round of the playoffs, they beat the Brentwood Dukes to advance to the AYFL Super Bowl. And whereas winning the 2023 AYFL Super Bowl by beating Ford City 51-12 and ending the ending the season as the undefeated Super Bowl champions, a feat that hasn't been done in 30 years by a little Mustang team. Whereas the Plum Youth Football Stallions were led by head coach Joel Klein, assistant coaches David Pucka, Brandon Little, Matt Morgan, Joe Klippa, Frank Rizolis, Sean Richardson, Ron Badali, Justy Shep, and Drew Harchek, who not only teach football basics, but they also take the time and make the effort to instill sound principles that will help these young boys achieve success in life. And whereas the team parents, through their unwavering support and giving of their time, were integral in guiding the team to victory in the Super Bowl and in life. Now therefore I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor, and the members of Plum Boro Council do hereby recognize and heartily congratulate the 2023 Little Mustangs on their outstanding season and accomplishments. Now, are any of you from the last year's football team? This is 2 years in a row you guys have been here. Didn't you win the Super Bowl last year? Very good, guys. Jaden Bruce. Ashton Zeck. Ballin Pierre. Jake Klein. Chase Henderson. Jaden Taylor. Mason Morgan. Maximus Bishop. Luke Benora. Austin Menden. Maxim Richardson. Alexander Stepnick. Vinny Shuley. Owie Clayton. Colt Knapp. Gavin Pucka. Samaj Robinson. Braden Waters. Jamil Brazel. Gianni Larica. If I mispronounce, I apologize. Marco Dapra. Colton Hartley. Trey Harchek. Cameron Kiss. And number 40, Keegan Coots. Hayden Miner. Sullivan Oskin. Liam Rupert. Liam Sherman. Santino Badali. Otto Schoenhammer. Kate Rizolis. Caden Stephenson. Logan Corson. Joey Klippa. Nico Drappa. Antonio Thompson. Colton Brooker. Ricky Springer III. And Matthew Lau. Guys, great job. For those of you that did it 2 years in a row, next year, you're not gonna be able to play, but let's see if the Mustangs can do. You can play again? Go for 3, guys. Go for 3. Go for 3. Good. Guys, like the Chiefs. Hey, Coach. You gotta get way through all your players, but you can get here. Oh, thank you. Keegan, yeah, thank you. Okay, guys. Yeah, guys, you can leave if you want. I mean, unless you really want to stay here for the rest of this meeting. Look at them go. Oh, no, there's empty chairs. Now there's empty chairs. Yeah. Joe Schwan. Is Joe here?
I think he might be outside. I saw,
Is Joe outside the door? Joe.
I saw Jim Sims and Alex out there.
Here he comes, and Sims.
Them out there.
Joe, come on up here. Yeah. This is an honor. Joe has donated 50 years of his life to the fire department as a volunteer. And I have no clue, Joe, on the number of hours you've put in over 50 years in training and all the other stuff you volunteers go into. So, honoring firefighter Joseph Schwan for 50 years of service to Plum Boro. Whereas, Joe Schwan began serving the residents of the borough of Plum as a volunteer firefighter in 1973 as a member of the Holiday Park Volunteer Fire Company. And whereas, Joe has dedicated his life to the fire service and protection of life and property from loss of fire and other emergency situations. And whereas, Joe is one of the longest tenured members of the Holiday Park Fire Department, providing 50 years of distinguished service to the community as a volunteer firefighter. And whereas Joe is whereas Joe has served in many positions within the department, including the positions of lieutenant, captain, second assistant chief, and chief. And whereas Joe has responded to thousands of calls during his tenure as a firefighter, thereby providing an enormous benefit to the borough of Plum and its residents. And whereas Joe has always been counted upon to respond when the tones dropped. And whereas during Joe's half-century of exemplary service, he has demonstrated the highest standards of ethics and values. And whereas Joe's dedication, devotion, and volunteerism are shining examples of community service and service to others. And whereas Council and I believe that it is in the best interest of the borough, its residents, and the residents of the surrounding communities to recognize, honor, and thank Joe Swan for his 50 years of service. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor and Borough Council, along with its residents and residents of the surrounding communities, express great appreciation, admiration, and gratitude for firefighter Joe Swan for his 50 years of dedication to our community as a volunteer firefighter, and thank him for his tireless service. Joe, thank you. Now this next series is, I guess they're achievements in the community, but I like to think they're heroics. Pam Popko, is Pam here? Aaron Shepard. Now, I understand you ladies didn't know each other that night up there at, before that night up there at John Anthony's. There was an incident that happened in December at John Anthony's. A gentleman collapsed, and 3 nurses happened to be there. You didn't know each other, and they were there for different reasons. Proclamation honoring the heroism of Pam Popko. Whereas one of the greatest actions a person can do is save the life of another human being. And whereas Plum Boro recognizes and values heroism and acts of courage by citizens. And whereas on December 6th, 2023, there was a medical emergency at John Anthony's restaurant whereby a gentleman collapsed on the floor. And whereas, fortunately, there were 3 individuals who sprang into action, one of whom was Pam Popko, a nurse who, along with the others, immediately began clearing the floor and turned it into a triage area to administer CPR. And whereas due to their quick and decisive action, the individual was revived, conscious, and stabilized when Plum EMS arrived and transported the individual to the hospital. Whereas Pam Popko and the others directly avoided a tragedy and therefore are honored for quick thinking, caring, and above all else, professionalism during the time of a crisis. And whereas by her actions and those of the other individuals proves once again that there really are heroes who live and walk among us. Now therefore I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor, along with Plum Council, congratulate and honor Pam Popko for her professionalism and selflessness. We hereby thank her for her act of compassion and bravery in saving a life and avoiding a tragedy. Signed this 12th day of February, 2024. Pam? This is a proclamation honoring Aaron Shepard. Some of it's the same, because I don't like to write. Whereas, one of the greatest actions a person can do is save the life of another human being. Whereas, Plum Boro recognizes and values heroism and acts of courage by its citizens. And whereas on December 6, 2023, there was a medical emergency at John Anthony's restaurant, whereby a gentleman collapsed on the floor. And whereas, fortunately, there were 3 individuals who sprang into action, one of whom was Aaron Shepard, a former EMT, who along with the others immediately began clearing the floor and turned it into a triage area to administer CPR. And whereas, due to the quick and decisive action, the individual was revived, conscious, and stabilized when Plum EMS arrived and transported the individual to the hospital. Whereas Aaron Shepard and the others decidedly avoided a tragedy and therefore are honored for quick thinking, caring, and above all else, professionalism during a time of crisis. And whereas by her actions and those of the other individuals proves once again that there really are heroes who live and walk among us. Now therefore I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor, along with Plum Council, congratulate and honor Aaron Shepard for her professionalism and selflessness, and we hereby thank her for her act of compassion and bravery in saving a life and avoiding a tragedy. Signed this 12th day of February 2024. The gentleman was from Oklahoma, and he is on living his life and fulfilling everything. Thank you, ladies. Aaron, thank you. And we had another incident in December. Is Jackie here? Jackie, please come up here. I would like Jackie, Officer Iacchini, Officer Kurtz, Chief Sims, Firefighter Gavin Bordogna, and Firefighter Charles Usher. This is a letter of commendation for Nurse Jackie Stange. Whereas, while on her way home with her children on Monday, December 18, 2023, Jackie came upon 19-year-old Gus Riccini lying in the middle of Old Frankstown Road and found him unresponsive and not breathing. And whereas Nurse Stang, am I pronouncing? Stang, evaluated the situation, checked for a pulse and any airway obstruction, and then took immediate and swift action and began performing CPR. And whereas Jackie Stang continued her valiant efforts until the arrival of Plum police officers and other first responders, and she continued her heroic efforts while providing a synopsis of Gus's condition, then stepped aside so they could take over. When their efforts were successful in getting a pulse, and Gus was breathing on his own, Jackie quietly got in her car and took her children home. Whereas, due to Jackie Stang's heroic efforts, until Plum Police and Holiday Park firefighters arrived on site, Gus Riccini's life was saved, giving him the chance to live a happy and fulfilling life. And whereas movie heroes wear a costume and have special powers, nurses like Jackie Stang, through quick and decisive efforts, have the power to save a life, even without a costume or special powers. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor of the Borough of Plum, along with Borough Council, wish to express great appreciation, admiration, and gratitude to Jackie Stang for saving the life of Gus Riccini. Signed this 12th day of February, 2024. Thank you, dear. And this is a letter of commendation for Officer Nicholas Iacchini. Whereas everyday Plum residents benefit directly from the dedication and commitment of the Borough of Plum Police Servants, Borough Public Servants, and unsung heroes who protect our community and all of us. And whereas the citizens of the Borough of Plum wish to commend Police Officer Nick Iacchini for his dedicated service he provides in the line of duty. And whereas on Monday, December 18, 2023, our first responders received a call no one wants to receive, which involved a 19-year-old male who collapsed on Old Frankstown Road and was unconscious and not breathing. And whereas Police Officer Nick Iacchini, as the senior officer on scene, evaluated the situation and took immediate and decisive action and deployed an AED, which is carried in all of our police units, while the others continued CPR efforts. Through the heroic efforts of all the first responders on site, Gus Ricchini's life was saved, giving him the chance to live a happy and fulfilling life. And whereas their heroic efforts were successful in getting Gus's pulse back and breathing, and upon arrival of paramedics, Gustino was able to be transported to the hospital. And whereas police officers, along with Nurse Jackie Stang and the firefighters of Holiday Park Fire Department, provided continuous CPR. It's these actions that saved Gus's life and show the true dedication our first responders have to the citizens of the Borough of Plum, who they serve so compassionately. Now therefore I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor of the Borough of Plum, along with Council, do hereby give a special thanks to Officer Nick Iacchini for his professionalism and leadership in a life and death situation, and to the team of professionals comprised of Nurse Jackie Stang, Officer Tyler Kurtz, and first responders of Holiday Park Fire Department for saving a life. Nick, thank you. Officer Tyler Kurtz. Whereas everyday Plum residents benefit directly from the dedication and commitment of the Borough of Plum public servants and unsung heroes that protect our community and all of us. And whereas on Monday, December 18, 2023, our first responders received a call no one wants to receive, which involved a 19-year-old male who collapsed on Frankstown Road and was unconscious and not breathing. Whereas, arriving on scene first, Police Officer Kurtz evaluated the situation and took immediate and decisive action by starting CPR. Through the heroic efforts of Officer Kurtz and the other first responders on site, Gus Ricchini's life was saved, giving him the chance to live a happy and fulfilling life. And whereas all their heroic efforts were successful in getting Gus's pulse back and breathing on his own, and upon arrival of paramedics, Gus was able to be transported to the hospital. Whereas police officers, along with Nurse Jackie Stang and the firefighters of Holiday Park Fire Department, provided continuous CPR. It's these actions that saved Gus's life and show the true dedication that our first responders have to the citizens of the Borough of Plum, whom they serve so compassionately. Now therefore I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor of the Borough of Plum, along with Council, do hereby give a special thanks to Officer Tyler Kurtz for his professionalism in a life or death situation, and to the team of professionals comprised of Nurse Jackie Stang, Officer Nick Iacchini, and the first responders of Holiday Park Fire Department for saving a life. Tyler, thank you. A letter of commendation for Chief James Sims. Whereas everyday Plum residents benefit directly from the dedication and commitment of the Borough of Plum's public servants and volunteers, these unsung heroes who protect our community and all of us. Whereas the citizens of the Borough of Plum wish to commend Fire Chief James Sims for his dedicated service he provided in the line of duty. And whereas on Monday, December 18, 2023, our first responders received a call no one wants to receive, which involved a 19-year-old male who collapsed on Old Frankstown Road and was unconscious and not breathing. And whereas when Jim arrived on scene, he immediately evaluated the situation and the fact that CPR was being administered. He prepared and administered Narcan, as no one knew what may have caused a 19-year-old to collapse. Through the heroic efforts of all the first responders on site, Gus Raccini's life was saved, giving him the chance to live a happy and fulfilling life. And whereas their heroic efforts were successful in getting Gus his pulse back and breathing on his own, and upon arrival of paramedics, Gus was able to be transported to the hospital. And whereas Jim Sims and the firefighters of Holiday Park Fire Department, along with Nurse Jackie Stang and the Plum police officers, provided continuous CPR. And it is through these actions that Gus Raccini's life was saved, and shows the true dedication that our first responders have to the citizens of the Borough of Plum, whom they serve so compassionately. Now therefore, I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor of the Borough of Plum, along with Council, do hereby give special thanks to Chief James Sims for his professionalism in a life or death situation, and to the team of professionals comprised of Nurse Jackie Stang, Officer Tyler Kurtz, and the first responders of Holiday Park Fire Department for saving a life. Jim? This is a letter of commendation for firefighter Gavin Bordogna. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Because I butcher all names. Whereas, everyday Plum residents benefit directly from the dedication and commitment of the Borough of Plum's public servants and volunteers, these unsung heroes who protect our community and all of us. And whereas the citizens of the Borough of Plum wish to commend volunteer firefighter and critical care nurse Gavin Bordogna, a 19-year-old, for his dedicated service that he provided in the line of duty. Whereas, on Monday, December 18, 2023, our first responders received a call no one wants to receive. It involved a 19-year-old male who had collapsed on Old Frankstown Road, who was unconscious and not breathing. And whereas when Gavin arrived on scene, he immediately relieved Officer Kurtz and continued to provide CPR. And through his efforts and heroic efforts of all the first responders on site, Gus's life was saved, giving him the chance to live a happy and fulfilling life. And whereas their heroic efforts were successful in getting Gus's pulse back and breathing on his own, and upon arrival of paramedics, Gus was able to be transported to the hospital. Whereas the firefighters of Holiday Park Fire Department, along with Nurse Jackie Stang and the Plum police officers, provided continuous CPR. And it is through these actions that Gus's life was saved, and shows the true dedication of first responders who have to the citizens of Plum, the Borough of Plum, whom they serve so compassionately. Now therefore, I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor of the Borough of Plum, along with Council, do hereby give a special thanks to Gavin Bordogna for his professionalism in a life or death situation, and to the team of professionals comprised of Nurse Jackie Stang, Officer Tyler Kurtz, Officer Nick Iacchini, and the other first responders of Holiday Park Fire Department for saving a life. Signed this 12th day. This is a letter of commendation for firefighter Charles Usher. Whereas everyday Plum residents benefit directly from the dedication and commitment of the Borough of Plum, public servants and volunteers, those unsung heroes who protect our community and all of us. Whereas the citizens of the Borough of Plum wish to commend volunteer firefighter Charles Usher for the dedicated service he provided in the line of duty. And whereas on Monday, December 18th, 2023, our first responders received a call no one wants to receive, which involved a 19-year-old male who collapsed on Old Frankstown Road and was unconscious and not breathing. And whereas when Charles arrived on the scene, he immediately began unloading emergency medical equipment from his vehicle so it would be readily available as needed. Through his efforts and the heroic efforts of all the first responders on site, Gus Raccini's life was saved, giving him the chance to live a happy life and fulfilling life. And whereas their heroic efforts were successful in getting Gustino's pulse back and breathing on his own, and upon arrival of paramedics, Gus was able to be transported to the hospital. And whereas the firefighters of Holiday Park Fire Department, along with Nurse Jackie Stang and the Plum police officers, provided continuous CPR. It's through these actions that Gus Raccini's life was saved, and it shows the true dedication our first responders have to the citizens of the Borough of Plum, whom they so compassionately serve. Now therefore I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor of the Borough of Plum, along with Council, do hereby give special thanks to Charles Usher for his professionalism in life and death situation, and to the team of professionals comprised of Nurse Jackie Stang, Officer Tyler Kurtz, Officer Nick Iacchini, and other first responders of Holiday Park Fire Department for saving a life. Signed this 12th day of February, 2024. Thank you. Now, I have a proclamation for each of you from Representative Markosik's office. I'll read one, and I'll pass them out. This is the letter of recognition for Nurse Jackie Stang. This letter of recognition is to honor the achievements of first responders and everyday heroes in the Plum community. These public servants are deserving of our utmost gratitude. I, along with the citizens of the Borough of Plum, wish to commend Fire Nurse Jackie Stang for her dedicated service she provided in the line of duty. While on her way home with her children on Monday, December 18, 2023, Jackie Stang came upon 19-year-old Gus Raccini lying in the middle of Old Frankstown Road. She found him unresponsive and not breathing. Nurse Stang evaluated the situation, checked for a pulse and any airway obstruction, then took immediate and swift action and began performing CPR. I think they copied mine.
Theirs.
No. Jackie Stang continued her valiant efforts until the arrival of Plum Police and other first responders. She continued her heroic efforts while providing a synopsis of Gus's condition and stepped aside so they could take over. When her efforts were successful in getting a pulse and Gus was breathing on his own, Jackie quietly got in her car and took her children home. Due to Jackie's heroic efforts, until Plum Police and Holiday Park firefighters arrived on scene, Gus Raccini's life was saved. Therefore, I, Brandon J. Markosik, State Representative of Pennsylvania's 25th House District, do hereby recognize Nurse Jackie Stang for her steadfast commitment to public service, along with all of the first responders, protecting the Borough of Plum and its citizens. Jackie, I've got one for each of you guys, and I'll pass them out. One other thing. Gus, you want to come up here? This is the young man's life, they say. Anything you want to say?
I'd like to say thank you to all you. I mean, I've met all of you, so I mean, it was pretty nice what happened that day. Everything happens for a reason, so I mean, it was nice that you all were there, and really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Jackie? There's more to come, so stay here. Okay. Tyler? Jim.
Handshake doesn't work.
Gavin. And Chuck. Nick, it was your body cam footage I got to review.
Oh, great.
I did. Now, I couldn't help but notice when your camera first came on, you were eating a cookie while you were driving. So I know we gave you a life-saving medal, or a ribbon. So here's 2 cookies. You can give them to the kids, or put them in your glove box until you get hungry. Brian,
I'll certainly make my thing break. Brian Malone.
you gotta turn the mic on.
Try this, any better?
Yeah.
All right, it's amazing to see everybody here in the spotlight, to see what they could do, and even have Gus standing here with us today. But one of the things we have to understand is that, in a sense, to make this happen, there is a link of chain that had to be together, that had to work together in order for all of this to happen. And so what I'd like to do is introduce Ms. Cheryl Rickens. She's the chair of our local chapter of a Sudden Cardiac Arrest Association. She actually has been here a couple of years ago for another cardiac arrest victim that was saved. And so what I'd like to do is now just palm this off to her so she can continue what she'd like to do. So thank you, Ms. Rickens.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Council, everybody for attending. The chain of survival that Brian referenced has 7 links, and for some of you, you already know this. Awareness and action, calling 911, early CPR, early defibrillation, using an AED, an automated external defibrillator, professional responders, police, fire, EMS, transport to the hospital for care, and then if all of those 6 links interweave, then the 7th link is where the survivor gets to have rehab and recovery. So you've already heard some of the story, but now that you know those 7 links, I want you to listen and interweave those links with the story. The out-of-hospital sudden cardiac arrest survivor is in an elite club, and here's why. On Monday, December 18th, around noonish, a young man went for a run. He's a runner. So not anything new for him, but unfortunately he collapsed in sudden cardiac arrest. A woman was in her car driving and she sees the man down on the road. She stops, so do a few others. They call 911. This lady gets out and assesses the young gentleman who is found to be unresponsive, not breathing, and doesn't have a pulse. This woman is a nurse, so she knew what she needed to do and she did it. She started CPR. Professional responders are dispatched, police, fire, and EMS. Police and fire arrive on the scene first. They secure the scene because it's in the middle of a road. And they take over care of the patient, continuing CPR and providing ventilation support. And medicine is given to check for responsiveness because they don't really know what's going on. And then, as stated, the AED from the police vehicle is applied and a shock is delivered. So if you're not sure what an AED is, it assesses the heart rhythm and it checks for an irregular heart rhythm. And then it applies a shock if it's an irregular chaotic rhythm, which in this case it was. So 1 shock was delivered. And this helped to convert the rhythm to a life-sustaining type of rhythm. Sometimes it takes multiple shocks, but you only took 1, so that's good. However, even though the life-sustaining heart rhythm was restored with a pulse, which is called ROSC, return of spontaneous circulation, it's what the professionals get very excited about. But he still wasn't breathing very well on his own, so ventilation was continued. EMS arrives. They don't get to do a lot of fun stuff because a lot of the fun stuff was already done, thankfully. But they do provide some advanced care, such as airway, oxygen, IV, a 12 lead, all those fun things that need to be done to figure out what's going on and then to help prepare the patient gets transported to the hospital. So the patient spent several days in the hospital. Many tests were done to try to figure out what the cause was for this sudden cardiac arrest. Nothing definitive was determined, but definitive care was done in that an implanted defibrillator was placed. That way, if this happens again, his own little implanted defibrillator will shock him out of the rhythm. So he's doing well, and I understand that you either are cleared or you're soon going to be cleared to run again, so that's cool. And he can do that safely with his little partner in hand. So the chain of survival, all the links were in place for a successful outcome and why you are now in an elite club. Just so you know, only about 10% nationally survive, so hence, you're in the 10% club. For you all that know me, I like to go over the timeline. So real quickly, the 911 call was placed at 12:22 p.m. EMS dispatched at 12:25. Police and fire arrive on the scene first. I don't have their actual time of arrival. ROSC is documented at 12:33. EMS arrives at 12:38. At the patient at 12:40. EMS depart the scene at 12:51. So if you're doing the math, as I said, ROSC occurred prior to EMS arrival, and it only took 11 minutes from the time of 911 call to restoring your pulses. An unwitnessed collapse often has even more unfavorable statistical outcomes. So again, you're very elite. But with the quick action of those, of early awareness, action, and calling 911, early CPR, early defibrillation, and the professional response of police, fire, and EMS, we're here to celebrate this great story. So you already know some of the people, but I'm gonna call up a few other folks. So first is our Good Samaritan, Jacqueline Stang. Now, I understand you work at UPMC?
I do. Resby.
Yes. So do I. We know people.
Yeah.
Anyway, here is your Sudden Cardiac Arrest Association, along with UPMC, hereby recognizes this award of Certificate of Heroism to, I'm only going to read it once, Good Samaritan Responder on this 12th day of February 24th. It has the 7 links for responding to a sudden cardiac arrest emergency on December 18, 2023. We wish to thank you for your integral role in the chain of survival and honor your life-saving actions. You probably know these people, Dr. Masasso and myself as the chair of the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Association, and because you're a lifesaver. You get it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Somebody who's often overlooked is the 911 dispatcher. So I'd like to call up Ryan Cavanaugh from Allegheny County 911 system. And just so you know, his first day was September 11th, 2023, so he was really new. Go have it. No, do not sit down. And then we met our police officers.
Oh, more sweets, Nick.
All right, I'm sorry it's not a cookie, it's a roll of Lifesaver.
I appreciate the cookie deal.
All right, Nicholas Iacchini. Oh my goodness. And Tyler Kurtz.
Thank you.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Holiday Park Volunteer Fire Department, support and traffic scene management, very important, especially on this scene. You already met this gentleman, Joe Schwan, with 50 years of service, holy moly. 50 years. I don't even know when you started, like a little baby, right? Congratulations. And see if we get like little pins up there, I like that. All right. There was a gentleman that was also part of the team, but he's not here tonight, Thomas Cordobe. And just so you know, as it was said, I've been here before. He was recognized back in 2019, 2021 at council meetings for responding to events. All right, Charles Usher. There you go. go. And you were also recognized in the past in 2019. All right, here's the name I've been dreading. Gavin Bordogna.
This is good.
Thank you.
He works at UPMC too.
Firefighter Jacob Zapata. How did I do? And then last but not least, Fire Chief James Sims. You should obviously be very proud of your folks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And then, because of the severity of the call, an AHN response medic also responded. He is not here tonight, and that is Vince Timko. And then for the Plum EMS, the primary crew, there were 3 involved, well, 2, and then an additional support person. Andre Acey, he's an EMT, was also recognized back in 2018. And Michael Homick, paramedic. Let's get your thing here. Come on up. Thank you. You and your partners. And then you were supported by a supervisor who is not here this evening, Eric Valentine, which how appropriate that it's February. And then last but not least, we have our survivor, which I know it seems a little weird to give a certificate to a survivor, but you know, due to your story, research, studies done on these stories, it gives us information to help other folks that suffer out of hospital cardiac arrest, especially of any age, but anytime you deal with a youngster, it's a little bit more pertinent. So here is your certificate of recognition for yes, surviving.
Say thank you again to everybody. I know there's a lot of people that helped me that day. It was a very unique situation, and to Jackie and all the EMS and police officers and all the response team. I just want to say thank you to everybody because I couldn't have done it without all of you. So thank you.
Happy running.
Can't see Joe. Get Joe out there. Joe, get in there. Squeezing a little bit that way. Sorry. There you go.
We're going to take some pictures in the lobby as well.
Okay, you're all dismissed.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hey, Mr. President, I'm finally done.
Finally, they recognize the dispatch.
I didn't know what they were. How cute. How cute.
Okay, we're going to continue with the meeting. That brings us to civic announcements.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pam Kalfa from the Plum Library. I'll keep it very quick. We at the library are hosting a talk in partnership with the Heinz History Center on February 29th about the history of Kaufman's department store. If you're interested, please call the library or register online. The other thing is we have a lot of great programs going on in March, including a family STEAM night at the end of March. So just visit our website or stop by the library and pick up a paper calendar, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Any other civic announcements?
No, this is not my report, son. Just my. Good evening. For the new individuals on council, my name is James Sims. I'm the chief of the Holiday Park Volunteer Fire Department. What my assistant chief, Greg Fusco, is passing out to you is our 2023 magazine called Fully Involved, for your pleasure to take a look at and tells us a little more about ourselves. We appreciate the recognition that we received tonight, but I should emphasize that the fact that, you know, on that December 18th day, just as when Gus got up that morning, he didn't realize that his life was going to change. On that December 18th day, when the group of us got up and we went to the fire station, we were staffing at the station, we had no idea at 12:43 in the afternoon we were going to be called to such a drastic event, a life-saving event. But it should be recognized the fact that the men and women of the Hawaii Park Volunteer Fire Department train for that specific type of event. We train for fires, we train for medical emergencies, we train for rescues, we train for hazmat incidents. So, on December 18th at 12:43 in the afternoon, when we received the call of the young man down, the individual who responded, whether it was the 3 or 4 of us who were standing here or anybody else who was there from the Hawaii Park Volunteer Fire Department, are trained to handle those events. That's what we do. Looking back on 2023, we responded to 1,018 calls in 2023. 1,018 calls, about 2.79 calls per day, 405 QRS calls and 613 fire and rescue calls. And that's from several different reasons why our numbers are up. Because of the lack of manpower, we're running increased mutual aid into Monroeville, into Murraysville, Washington Township, and other places. After the tragic event on August 12th, from August 13th through December 31st, we responded to 53 smell of gas calls in that time period, somewhere in Plum. People were more cognizant, people were more aware, people were afraid, and we had a large number of calls. Majority of them, probably 95% of them, were just people concerned. They were a bad detector, maybe a dry sewer trap in the garage. There was a couple that were real, but for the most part, they were called, they were concerned, and they called the fire department. But it hasn't changed. It really hasn't. This is the 43rd day of 2024, and as of today, as I stand here and talk to you, we're at 120 calls, or 2.79 calls per day. We're running constantly. All volunteer, running every day, out the door, and I can tell you that the men and women of the Hawaii Park Fire Department are getting tired. We're getting tired. We had some great accomplishments in 2023. We had 3 of our firefighters attain their firefighter 1. We had another member attain their EMT. 2 members attain their EMR, which is emergency medical responder. We have 35 individuals in our department trained for medical emergencies and respond to our quick response medical service. And that's something that we do. And if anybody's watching this, has interest in doing medical calls, but they don't want to be a firefighter, you can come to the Hawaii Park Fire Department and you can be an emergency medical responder. We'll pay for your training and we'll get you on board to help us respond to the number of calls. We certified 3 new CPR instructors. We've had 2 firefighters obtain their Mod 4. And one's really a great story. A young man, Nathan McDaniels, he's 17 years old. The state changed the law as a junior firefighter. He was able to attend and achieve his Mod 4, which is interior firefighting. Now, he can't do anything until he turned 18. Well, he turned 18 last Tuesday, so now he has his black shield. He's an interior firefighter, but he accomplished that as a junior firefighter. We became the troop charter for Boy Scout Troop 111. There was an issue with their current charter, and they were going to lose their charter, so we became involved, and we often became their charter. We're now the chartering agency for Boy Scout Troop 111. We certified 72 people from the community in CPR, 42 in first aid, 50 in stop the bleed. We do first aid standby at the Plum soccer tournaments. We're out doing fire prevention, and in conjunction with Plum EMS, we help them hold their car seat safety event every year. I think it worked out to about 5,000 hours that the men and women of the fire department donated. Our fire camp, 32 cadets. Our fire camp, June 17th to the 21st of this year, is sold out at 40 cadets. We're already full, and we're February, and we have a waiting list for young men and women who want to come to our fire camp. This is our 6th year. It has gained a reputation for good training for new junior firefighters or those who want to join. And we would encourage those young men and women in high school, who want to come and join the fire department, you can join the 14, but you understand, if you're active in the fire service, you can go to CCAC for free. You can go to college for free. We have a member of our organization went to CCAC, attained a nursing degree. Another one obtained other degrees out of CCAC, their Homeland Security certification. Didn't cost them a dime. And that's even if you're out of school. If you're 18, 19 years old, you know what you want to do, maybe want to go to CCAC, join the fire department. Go to college for free. It's a great offer. I want to thank Brian Maloney too. We use the same AEDs, because this goes back to training. We use the same AEDs that the Plum Police use, that are at the soccer fields, that are at the ball fields. Brian's in charge of that program. He notifies me. He comes and does inspections, make sure our battery's not done. So that day on December 18th when we arrived, Officer Iacchini could have handed any one of my members his AED because it's the exact same one that we use and we were trained on. And I want to thank Brian Maloney for that efforts that he does. And last but not least, I'd be remiss. Valentine's Day. Nothing says Happy Valentine's more than bring your date to the fish fry. Fish fry is Ash Wednesday. We run fish fry every week now for 7 weeks through Good Friday. Please come and support us. Not only us, but support Renton, support Logan's Ferry Fire Department. We need your assistance. Just like every other organization, your home, your budgets, everything, we're seeing the increases in insurance, electric, everything else that we have to pay for. And this is one of our largest fundraisers of the year. And hopefully you'll come out. Understand this, please understand this. We become very good at fighting fires. We become very good at CPR. So we can't be good at everything. So if you have a little wait for your fish fry, it'll be good. It's just not going to come out as fast as the restaurant. We can only be good at so many things. So thanks for your time this evening. We appreciate the efforts and the support of the Plum Council and Plum Boro with our fire service. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, Jim.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Turn that on.
In front.
how's that?
There you go.
Better, because we can understand it.
I will be brief, I promise. I wanted to draw your attention to our drug take-back box. Over the past 10 years or so, we've participated in the DEA's drug take-back program, which I think is biannual, where citizens could come from Plum Boro and drop off their unwanted or unused medications. We wanted to streamline that and wanted to get one of these boxes so our residents can drop those medications off at any time to the police department. Unfortunately, those boxes are very pricey. So fortunately, we have a really good relationship with Longwood at Oakmont Senior Citizens Center. In attendance is Kevin Henderson. He's the supervisor from Longwood at Oakmont. They shared our enthusiasm to buy one of these boxes, and they actually footed the bill for that box for us. Within the next few days, we hope to get that bolted down into the police station, and we're going to put it out on our Facebook page that our residents can drop off their medications at any time, so we stop people from accidentally overdosing, flushing it down the toilet, and incorporating into the water system. So we wanted to let you know that that's something new coming to the police department, and fortunately a business in the borough stepped up and helped us out with it. So we wanted to thank them and let you know what we were doing.
Thank you, Longwood.
Any other civic announcements? Okay, and on behalf of Plum Council, I'd like to thank Longwood.
Did you want to say something?
Well, he's at the end, Harry. I got it taken care of. You good? Thank you. I want to thank Longwood on behalf of Plum Boro and the council for donating that box. Okay, we move on to comments from citizens on agenda items. I see none. No one signed up. We're good to go. Okay, that goes to council actions. First up, Mr. Majernik on behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, I move to adopt Resolution 976-24, approving the Oakmont Country Club Golf Range and Site Improvement Project, CU-05-23, Lot and Block 532-D-285 as recommended by the Planning Commission, with the conditions outlined in the conditional use written decision.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move to grant the waiver modification request to section 415, construction details in accordance with the Plum Boro subdivision and land development ordinance, the SALDO, to allow for a single stripe parking line construction standard at the southern portion of the project being associated with the Presbyterian parking improvement, with the northern portion of the project to be a double-striped parking lane construction standard to be shown on the Oakmont Country Club, Presbyterian Senior Care, Golf Range, and Site Improvements Land Development Design drawings by the civil and environmental consultants.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I have a second by Ms. Rossler. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move to adopt Resolution 977-24, approving preliminary final land development for the Oakmont Country Club Golf Range and Site Improvement Project, SP-05-23, lot and block 532-D-285, as recommended by the Planning Commission with conditions outlined in the resolution.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Seitz. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move to adopt Ordinance 978-24, authorizing the establishment of 3 stop signs in Phase 1 of the Parkside Estates Housing Plan.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move to accept the Perrin-Raschuti lot line revision as complete.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Mr. Taylor. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Majernik. Mr. Seitz, on behalf of personnel, please. Turn your mic off, please, Steve. There you go.
Okay. On behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I move to adopt Resolution 978-24, authorizing the destruction of certain municipal records in accordance with the Municipal Records Act.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a second by Mr. Majernik. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
On behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I move to appoint myself and David Majernik as delegate and alternate delegate to the Turtle Creek Valley Council of Governments Board.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Schlock. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
On behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I move to approve a conditional offer of employment for Jason Saunders as police patrolman.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Motion carries. Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Is Jason Saunders here?
Jason, you want to come forward, please?
On behalf of the borough, we'd like to welcome you on board of the police force and welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad to serve the community and get started working.
All right, thank you. Good luck.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
On behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I move to approve a conditional offer of employment for Haley Wallach as police patrolwoman.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a second by Mr. Majernik. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Is Ms. Wallach here? Come forward.
Crystal, you have to share counter space now.
I'm okay with it.
Ms. Wallach, we would like to welcome you aboard as a Plum Police Officer. We're happy to have you, and good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
On behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I move to approve a conditional offer of employment for Luke Skladar as police patrolman.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Purcell. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Skedlar?
Yeah.
Mr. Skladar, thanks for taking our offer of employment. We're happy to have you on board, and good luck to you in your duties with Plum Boro.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
On behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I move to appoint Andrew Novick to a 5-year term on the Zoning Hearing Board ending on December 31st, 2028.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I have a second by Ms. Rossler. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Finally, on behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I move to approve a 1-year lease with the Allegheny Foothills Historical Society for a room at the Plum Boro Library.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? A second by Ms. Rossler. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Seitz. On behalf of Public Safety, Ms. Rossler, please.
Thank you. I move to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance revising the civil service regulations.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Purcell. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
I move to adopt Resolution 979-24, amending Resolution 900-21, approving the intermunicipal transfer of liquor license R16698 to Sheets Incorporated at 950 Prescott Isle Drive.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Majernik. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. That's it. Thank you, Ms. Rossler. Excuse me. Mr. Taylor, on behalf of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Committee, I move to approve the purchase of a precast restroom from CXT Incorporated in the amount of $122,670.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I have a second from Mr. Schlock. Any discussion?
I just wanted to add, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sablasley, but this was on last year's budget, correct?
That's correct. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. On behalf of the Finance Committee, Mr. Schlock.
On behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to adopt Resolution 980-24, authorizing a master equipment lease agreement with Community Leasing Partners.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll
I have a second from Mr. Seitz. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
On behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to approve the 2024 asset disposition list.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
On behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance for the Plum Boro Municipal Authority bond issue.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I have a second from Mr. Majernik. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Slough. And on behalf of the Roads, Equipment and Grounds Committee, Mr. Purcell.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. I move to
We need to turn the microphone off, Steve.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Dern. I move to authorize the advertisement requesting bids for the Abers Creek Storm Sewer Project.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move to award the 2024 paving program contract to Dairy Construction in the amount of $1,122,958.50 as recommended by the borough engineer. The award represents the base bid plus alternate number 1.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Rossler. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries.
I move to approve change order number 1 for the Whispering Pines retrofit project in the amount of $18,200 as recommended by the project engineer.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Rossler. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, that is all the council actions. Next on the agenda is the mayor's report.
Thank you. In January, our uniform patrol officer responded to 965 calls for service, and that's approximately a 21% increase over the previous month. And they've all left out there, so they're not going to hear me. I'm talking about your officers. Now we're thoughtful citizens. You know what I'm going to say. I do. Thank you. On January 8th, the 22nd, and the 27th, Michael Cerniglia of Michael's Painting delivered Oakmont bakery goods on all 3 occasions as a thank you for our officers and their continued service to the community. On January 10th, staff members from the Milestone Youth Adventure Program dropped bags of candy for our officers. The bags contained Hershey Kisses, York Peppermint Patties, bubblegum, Tootsie Rolls, and Lifesavers. And on January 15th, Pat and Stan Kazmarski delivered donuts to our officers, wishing them a Happy New Year. And as I said, every month for 6 years, I never get an invite down. That's all I have, sir.
Goodness. Okay, committee reports. Mr. Seitz, personnel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. On behalf of the Personnel Committee, the report is that we had one retirement. Linda Stempel, Secretary of Community Development, retired on January 19th, 2024, after 25 years of working for the borough. We hired Kathy Toney on December 4th, 2023, to fill the vacancy created by Linda's retirement. Kathy is a longtime resident of Plum Boro, and she was able to spend 5 weeks training with Linda. In the IT department, they're completing the multi-factor authentication upgrade, and they closed 29 issues in January. The planning department issued 68 occupancy inspections and 39 permits. The administrative staff is currently doing the 2023 performance reviews. Self-evaluations have been submitted. One-on-one meetings will be scheduled, and the personnel committee will meet to discuss the 2024 staff salaries. And finally, the borough manager and the HR director are in the process of reviewing the draft of the new Public Works collective bargaining agreement, and a contract should be ready for signature by the borough very shortly. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Seitz. The Intergovernmental Cooperative Committee with the School Board, we met a couple weeks ago. Vicki, you want to give a quick update on that, please?
Yep, we met on January 5th. It was a good, positive meeting with good discussion. Here on council, we're looking to add a male and female student to sit on council as a student rep. So we discussed that process. That information should be with the school district in the next couple of weeks. We talked about the hydrants at the school district. The municipal authorities will be testing the hydrants and checking the flow rate. And also they'll be color coded to match our other hydrants in the community per the standards recommended by the state. And basically just working together on community events. We're going to be giving them some equipment so they can have movie night for back to school. We have a big screen that we don't use anymore, so we're offering that to the school district. So basically just working together in a positive good discussion is what we had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And along with the fire hydrants, that'll be added on our GIS system, so that'll be available to all the fire departments too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Slock, Finance Committee, please.
Thanks, Mr. President. The borough recognized revenues totaling $611,361 and incurred expenditures in the amount of $1,342,631. Mayor Dussel, our independent auditor, finished their field work associated with the 2023 audit. It includes auditing all borough's funds along with the real estate tax office. The borough has a tax anticipation note with Dollar Bank for $1.5 million. The borough has not drawn down any funds, but expects to draw during the third quarter. Employee wages for the police, public works, and clerical bargaining units were changed to reflect contractual amounts per union agreements. The administrative personnel salaries will be updated following the 2023 employee performance reviews and approval by the Personnel Committee of Council. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Purcell, Roads, Equipment, and Grants.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Dern. The Renton Park Phase 3 project has been completed. New gates were installed on the basketball court. Fence repairs were completed on the fence surrounding the court. The gate installation and fence repairs were completed in-house. Small amount of asbestos that was found in the former borough building has been abated. The borough will solicit bids for demolishing the property later this year. Sediment removal at the O-Block retention pond has started as requested by KU Resources. This is in preparation for the changes that will be made to the pond. Winter maintenance for January consisted of using 1,548 tons of salt at a cost of $131,239.44. The school district purchased 66 tons of salt from the borough at a cost of $5,595.48. Pipe, inlets, and material for the upcoming construction season were purchased. Various roads that had water runoff that was crossing roadways and creating dangerous icy conditions were burned. Numerous fallen trees that were blocking roadways at various locations were removed. Some fallen trees had to be removed from communication lines. And preventative maintenance and state inspections were performed on 23 pieces of equipment and trucks in the public works fleet, 12 police vehicles, and 1 administrative vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Purcell. Excuse me. Public Safety, Ms. Rossler.
Thank you. On January 15th, myself, along with Mr. Slock and Mr. Purcell, visited the Logan's Ferry Fire Department and met with Chief Marsh and his department. On January 22nd, myself, along with Mr. Dern and Mr. Purcell, met with the chiefs of our 4 fire departments from Logan's Ferry, Holiday Park, Unity, and Renton to discuss how the fire departments are doing and how the borough and the community can help each department. I'll be meeting with Chief Cole from Renton, Chief Sims from Holiday Park, and Chief Mudar from Unity. Some call him PJ. I'll be meeting with them with this month, the month of February. After the meetings with all the fire departments, I'll regroup and bring items to council in March for their review and action if needed. I see there's one firefighter still here in the building, but on behalf of council and the mayor, I just want to sincerely thank the firefighters for all they do to keep our community safe. There's a lot of time, dedication, and training our Plum firefighters put in behind the scenes to be ready to respond to a call. So again, I'd just like to publicly thank our firefighters for all they do for the community of Plum. In closing, I'm going to talk about fish fries. Holiday Park Fire Department, they have taken and dine out every Friday during Lent. Their hours for lunch are 11:30 to 1:30. Dinner hours are 4:30 to 7:30. They also have Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. Hours are from 11:30 to 7:30. Renton Fire Department, takeout, they have Friday during Lent, hours are 4 to 7. And Logan's Ferry Fire Department, hours during Lent, 4 to 8. And Good Friday, 11:30 a.m. until 8 p.m. Take in and dine out. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Maloney, do you have a report?
All right, thank you. Brian Maloney, Director of Operations, Plum EMS. This was a heck of a night, and I can't tell you how proud I am to be a part of such an incredible community. It just starting from the bystanders that stopped, to police, to the fire, to EMS. I mean, it is an amazing thing to be part of, so I appreciate it, and I'm very blessed to be here. For the month of January, Plum EMS ran a total of 265 responses. We transported 156 patients. We went to neighboring communities 13 times, transported 9 of those patients. We needed mutual aid to come into Plum 20 times throughout the month. That's a higher number. It's something we always kind of keep an eye on, because that was about 7.5% of the time EMS was needed in the community. We had to ask for help. Sometimes, you know, the EMS gods, the way they look at it, we'll never understand. But we definitely do keep an eye on that very closely. Now, along with running EMS calls, some of the things we did throughout January, we conducted 10 free car seat safety checks. We gave away 5 free car seats throughout the month, and we distributed 2 free cribs to families in need for a safe place for their child to sleep. And when we first started our child safety program, it was nice because it was all free. PennDOT gave us car seats, and the Western chapter of Academy of Pediatrics, cribs for kids were able to give us free cribs. But unfortunately, those funds had basically depleted. So last year was the first year we were trying to find funding, and we're trying to continue because it's such an incredible program. And so I had the opportunity to meet with the Plum Rotary Club, who fell in love with the idea about partnering up with Plum EMS and being a long-term sponsor. And so they were willing to pretty much do an immediate donation so I could buy 10 car seats. Now these car seats can cost up to $181. And then with the idea of to try to help us continue this program for the community. So we are very blessed to have that relationship with the Rotary Club and other organizations throughout the community. So once again, very blessed with that. Now we also provided 2 CPR trainings. We did EMS coverage for the youth wrestling tournament up at the high school. I had the privilege of doing a presentation at the Plum Community Center on winter safety tips, even though it doesn't feel like winter at all. But it was a good presentation, great crowd there. They didn't harass me too much, so I appreciated the opportunity. And just as a reminder, everyone should have received information about Plum EMS subscriptions. And I know I sound like a Geico car commercial, but it literally will save you hundreds of dollars. So take advantage of that. The other thing it will do, as a subscriber, you get 2 free CPR classes every year. And so the stories you hear about tonight from John Anthony's, from in the middle of the street, I mean, this is people that, you know, may have been, you know, part of their profession, but has an opportunity to learn it. So we hope that the same can happen here. So questions, comments, story to make me smile? Me too, I'm tired too.
Actually, I brought my subscription, and you covered everything I was going to say, so thank you. Well done.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, Mr. Majernik.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. The Community Development Department issued 39 permits in January. The Planning Commission met in January and recommended approval for the Fox Auto Sales and Service Conditional Use application with conditions. The Zoning Hearing Board did not meet in January. In addition to continually updating the GIS map, staff met on site at the Plum Midget football field to discuss the press box, scoreboard, and plaques. Staff also worked on the following projects: creating a grant project matrix, and will meet to finalize potential grant opportunities for 2024 to 2025. Met with members of the USGA for the 2025 US Open at Oak One Country Club. Had discussions with associates from Scheffler and Company Engineering pertaining to the Patriot Estates PRD Phase 1. Code enforcement completed 68 residential and apartment occupancy inspections and addressed 123 violations and complaints in January. Additionally, sign removal was conducted, a street light inspection was conducted, and a code enforcement officer provided inspections during a residential fire call. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Majernik. And Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. New message boards for the park pavilions have been received and will be installed when weather permits at Plum Creek Park, Larry Mills Park, and Renton Park. The parks will also be receiving new permanent 55-gallon garbage cans. The parking lot at the PMFA field was graded and leveled, and holes in the practice field were filled and will be reseeded in the spring. Routine maintenance continues at all of the borough-owned buildings. In an effort to promote recycling for a good cause, containers have been placed at various locations throughout the borough to collect aluminum can tabs to be donated to Ronald McDonald House charities. Residents can drop off tabs at any of the following locations: the Borough Building, Community Center, Library, or YMCA. Check the Borough website for additional locations. The Borough also hosted its first open gym in January with more than 50 people utilizing the gym throughout the day. The next open gym is scheduled for Sunday, February 25th for basketball and pickleball. Pre-registration is required for pickleball. And one other thing, I was invited to the Baseball Association's meeting last week. They're gearing up for the season. We went over their wish list of things that they would like to see happen, maybe this spring, some things that they'd like to obtain, and their safety concerns. And I will be getting with my committee to go over all that with them this month. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And that brings us to citizens' comments on non-agenda items. And we had 3 people sign up, and the first person, it's actually a group, Mr. Lucas and Mr. Duffy.
Fred Lucas. Fred Lucas, Plum Area Soccer. So through the years, we've tried to add to the program based on needs that we perceive for the benefit of the sport and the community. So this spring, we will be starting a top soccer program to benefit kids with needs in our community mostly and surrounding areas. So I have Chris Duffy here with me. He'll be running it for Plum Area Soccer, and I'll let him just explain it real quick.
Thank you. Top Soccer is a recreational soccer program for kids and adults who have exceptionalities, who may not have the ability or accessibility to play in other normal recreation leagues. Our program will consist of small games that allow a child and a young adult to really partake in building social skills, perseverance, and those kinds of things. We will be playing on the high school's artificial field, which opens up a whole list of disabilities that we can take in. Registration is already up, and thanks to Fred Lucas and the program, that registration is free for our kids. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Worthwhile program.
Yeah.
So it's just a start, but we're hoping that it becomes a bigger thing. So we're encouraging all kids, no matter what kind of disability they have, to come forward and we'll do what we can for them. So that's it.
Is there an age limit?
Since we're just starting, we're gonna really know, but we gotta see what the interest is, and we'll accommodate anybody, any age, and see if we can put the program together.
Yeah, one of the unique aspects of Top Soccer is the ability to really pivot and move our program to where we need it to be. It's not a very structured program when it comes to like administration and all that. So it gives us a lot of flexibility to meet those needs of all individuals.
We will also have mentors for every kid. There'll be a mentor assigned to every kid. So.
Fantastic.
Can you give a website or a phone number that they can go to registration?
website?
Yep, the website to register is the Plum Area Youth Soccer website. You'll just register as like right under Top Soccer. I believe you can click on any of them and they'll actually come up as Top Soccer as an option. Parents or volunteers who are 18 and over, they'll also register. They'll go through Safe Sport and receive clearances through Safe Sport to help.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Okay, next up is Greg Sirikowski. He might have shuffled out when everybody shuffled out. Okay, and Kevin McGuire.
First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Kevin McGuire. I live at 373 Holiday Park Drive. I represent the West Penn Senior Softball League, the Tri-Borough Softball Association, Steel Valley Softball Association, and I am the Senior Commissioner for USA Softball District 10 in Western Pennsylvania. We seek to schedule a meeting with the borough and its officials to work on field improvements at Renton Field. I'd also like to call to everyone's attention that we are going to be sponsoring a Special Olympics softball program at no off-season. And if we can get the fields in Plum compliant in the future, we'll be able to talk to the borough about bringing that type of activity to the borough. So it's a safety issue, and so we can get into greater detail when we have the meeting. So I thank you again for your courtesy and allowing us to talk to you tonight, and thank you very much. Take care.
Okay, that brings us to the end of citizens' comments. Anyone else have anything? I'm going to ask for an adjournment. I have a motion on the floor for adjournment. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Purcell. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.